Sharon Stone. Okay, she's been ridiculous this whole time, so this isn't really the first time. She made some, like, I don't know, the way she approached the Paul veer away from dude um was not great either. But I don't think it was even as bad as this. But it's kind of like, oh, the flags are there. She's a hot mess. But anyway, she apparently is trying to flip the script on this thing and saying people are mad at Kevin because he's gay. No. Okay. So they're gonna say, so she's gonna also stand behind like the brother, and the problems there is because Kevin's gay. No. Why is it always a white woman? Literally, I keep pulling these stories. You guys on my Insta, I had all these other stories, and it's like, here's some white woman. She be coming up in here, and then she go and protect them all. Oh yeah. Which one was that? Julian Assange, Julian Ass. I always called him that. I had this long thing on Twitter where I used to talk about him all the time and how ridiculous these women are. And then now, like, one of the victims comes in and is like, I forgive him. I'm happy that he out, and I'm a Jesus Christ freak. You know, this thing. And I go, yeah, that's exactly why history is like this, right? They're all rapists and nobody's getting busted, right? Like this thing, that thing. And then you're going to go promote the thing that promoted it on you. And it's like, I'm sitting here going, who are we fighting? Who are we fighting? Do you not know who your enemies are? It's not the devil. I know we all want to call the men all the devils. You know, they are devils. But anyway, into this. I know, I come back and it's a story about Kevin. I keep giving him attention and he loves it. You know, it's this thing. But Sharon Stone says Kevin should be allowed to come back while downplaying the severity of accusations against him. Okay, these will be the same women who are like, you know, we need to defend men. And it's all about white supremacy. This is straight up white supremacy, though. I mean, I haven't seen her really jump to the, you know, black man, you know, that we need to protect the black man. Okay, so these women, not that any of this is funny, it's the ridiculousness of these humans. And no, this is not normal. And no, Kevin is not normal. He's not a normal person. Okay. He has not had any accountability. The public has been promoting rape on everyone the whole time. Okay. And then furthermore, they've been promoting rape on men and minimizing the conduct of others onto other men. So I'm highlighting the LGBT community with the gay men, where they have used these excuses such as, I'm gay, we're different, we touch each other. And it's like, what the fuck? Yeah, so, yeah, a lot of those things, okay? But some of these people in here, his victims are not all gay men. They are straight men, and he perpetrates on them. And I actually pulled that out even on Rob Halford as well, because he became a topic because people think that he's the one that raped Janie Lane. I do not know if that's the case, but that's an allegation that some people believe. In his past background, his conduct could lead you to think that as well. Even if he didn't do that, he was talking about his perpetrator mind, and it's calculated, right? He let you come inside his mind and told you how he was viewing this male, that they got drunk after a show and the guy was straight and he wanted to perpetrate on him. And he saw nothing wrong with that, okay? And we're just like, wait a minute. So you wouldn't say it unless you think everything's fine with it, right? Because they don't usually, I mean, sometimes they do brag about their criminality, but there it's more like, I think this is normal, and so I'm going to say the story. And I think we've all done this on something really dumb before, so I think you can kind of comprehend this action, where it's like, I normalize this behavior, and I'm just going to spew out this bullshit, but I don't think anything's wrong with it, and that's why I'm saying it openly. So we've seen that with other people where they're talking about them being a human trafficker. Yeah, because they didn't see anything wrong with it, and that's their normal behavior in their mind, in their own mind, versus somebody bragging about being a criminal, like really bragging, like they know it's a criminal action and they're bragging about it, or people that are making up things and doing that. So I'm just trying to differentiate when I'm reading people and I'm going through the story. It's like, oh no, he thinks it's totally normal and fine because he's a perpetrator. But he just thinks it's normal. Like there's nothing wrong with what he's doing. That's how they operate. Like there's different ways that their brains operating that I'm just like called scrambled eggs. It's scrambled eggs. I'm like it's scrambled eggs because there's no. I mean, because they're all different and it's all wacky, right? It's really wacky to sit there and say some bullshit like that. But they don't see anything wrong. No shame to it, right? It's just like, yeah, this guy was totally drunk and I was totally going to try to prey on him in the hotel room, but, I was a little too drunk to even go there. This whole other thing. And then no, here's where he was bragging is when he was doing criminal behaviors in a bathroom because apparently, all the gays go and rape each other in a bathroom. But he was talking about this conduct and he ends up getting arrested and the police helped him out by not letting the story come out. Okay, well, that's a little different. And there he's bragging about how he gets away with it. It's like these type of things. So, yeah, I mean, it's off and on. It's like there he's bragging. The other part, he's just like out and proud, like, there's nothing wrong with this, guys. This thing. And, yeah, so Kevin's on this level of, he knows he's a bad person and he has women, so he's so calculated. The first person that Kevin probably called, he's like, I need some women to come and protect me because I know that my big fans are these women, these old Karens that literally want to marry him. It is insane. Like, it's comical to me in some fashion because I'm reading, like, I'll go through the comments because I'm always curious as to the public opinion. And there's these like older women, even knowing this topic where he comes out, I'm gay, but then also I touch kids, and I also rape other people, like this thing. They're still on here going, Kevin, you're so hot. And I just, happy birthday, Kevin, and blah, blah, blah. And they're like literally either my age or older. I think most of them are older than me, even. And I'm not young. It's like, so it's kind of like, what the hell? And they post it out there like he's reading it, and maybe he does read it because he's so lonely. I don't know, um, but yeah. So the more, and this reminds me of like when they go and get a female lawyer, so they seem like, oh, we should listen to. I don't know. They just do this. It's just fake presenting. It's trying to manipulate the public. It's to give you some sympathy for this guy, yada, yada, yada. The word hate really isn't in the dictionary when I'm talking about him. But he also didn't rape me. So, I would have that addition in it if he touched me. And this is what he's doing. So you need to put yourself in the shoes of the victims of these perpetrators. So I know how it feels. Like I totally do because I have a million other perpetrators, but Kevin's not one of them. He could be, I guess, if he's one of the ones that we couldn't identify from a long time ago. Hope not. But no, but I'm just saying is that the way that the victims are viewing this, it's not funny. It is very painful and trying to combat this, and you have other celebrities enabling him and empowering him. And it's something that the public doesn't seem to understand or comprehend the hell that I've been through, because this is just another example of it with some other victims where I go, you can't relate to the average public because they can't comprehend the feelings and being in my shoes of having these pieces of crap do this crap to you, and then all their celebrity friends come around and they pump them up and they throw them in your face. And no matter what I do, I can't get rid of it out of my face because the media will keep pumping out these people. And even if I don't want to hear about Kevin Spacey every day, it's still going to pump them out to me because probably the AI or whatever, the whole thing of knowing that I read stories on him. So they think I really want to be into him. But we do talk about him as an example quite often here. So, and a long time before this even kind of went down. And so if you guys recall, like I had pulled up the brother's story from another publication right when the story started coming out. And I guess only a few publications were listening to him, and I didn't even know he existed. It was kind of an interesting thing, and I was reading it, and I was going, "What the hell, dude?" Um, yeah, and then Daily Mail asked me where I pulled it from, and then it went to town from there. And so I'm sure, like, I'm his favorite character over here. So, um, but nonetheless, okay, so now that we're a few years out from Kevin Spacey's initial reckoning for sexual misconduct, and he has a couple of legal victories under his belt, that doesn't mean anything. The actor has been trying to set the stage for his comeback. One part that you know what he really should be focusing in on, getting mental help. I mean, really. I mean, there's no cure for this. So I don't know what he's wanting to come back from. He needs to go get treatments. And in order to be even treated for this, you have to like literally admit that you did all these horrible things to begin with. And plus, he's a big time. I don't know what substances he's been doing because he is definitely off kilter at many times in here being drunk. The pop thing is like nothing. I don't talk about pop because it's not really, it's not something that like, I mean, you can obviously get addicted to anything like food or anything else, but it's a different thing than say somebody running off doing coke. It is a very different universe between those things. But in addition, he has done some other things. Maybe he is a big cokehead too. I have no idea. But he has addiction in his story, mainly alcohol. I know that much. But then, he should be focusing in on those. Now, I've been pointing out that those addiction traits they're correlated with this thing over here. I like this thing over here. Um, and yeah, that's where his focus really should be is fixing his head, right? At least trying to get, to the point where I don't harm people anymore. I know I'm a bad person. I know I don't have empathy for another human being, but I need to learn how to not harm other humans, even though I don't give a shit no matter what. That's the only place you can get him, you guys. And he's not even there, okay? Okay? He's got white Karen here helping him out. And I'm sure she was the first one he called. Hey, did I do something to you, Sharon? They probably had sex, who knows, but this is, I'm dead serious. So then, okay, so Sharon come up in here and her initial statement on the subject was supportive, if incomprehensible, after praising Spacey as an actor, and she said of his accusers, it's terrible that they are blaming him for not being able to come to terms with themselves, for using him and negotiating with themselves because they didn't get their secret agendas. Wow. That is rich. That one right there. There's a couple of problems with this besides her victim blaming and Kevin is a saint for everything he did here with no consent. Why is her stupid ass interjecting in his problems? A white man need a white woman to come in and protect him. This is what's going on. It is the most ridiculous thing that white women have done throughout history. And I always sit back and I go, you know what? And there's times I'm sure we've all done this because this is just part of, the thing of how everybody was indoctrinated into this garbage. And I said I did it like one time, man. And it was more about ignorance of not knowing the entire story than it was like, just because I'm a fan of this person, I'm going to go protect him. It was just my stupidity of not like going deeper into what they were talking about. There was a whole thing to that a long time ago, and then it bit back because the same people that they had complaints of actually came and burned me right after. It was the craziest thing, and I go, this is like a life lesson, like right here, like big time. And I never get involved. It's so funny because I never get involved in things like this. Like I don't like I used to never do this, right? I would never like jump up and be like, I'm going going to protect this man. Stay away from it. You know, like do this thing. But except for on my perpetrators. So I had to get called out in therapy for that. Like they're like, why do you feel the need to defend the actions of the people that had done, you know, their actions on me, right? It was a weird thing because I didn't even know that I was doing it. It sure as hell didn't sound like this. I'll tell you that. But it was more like, you know, my dad, something. So I don't know. I don't even remember how I was saying it. But now when I read stories, I could literally tell who didn't go to therapy. Just because when you go to therapy and you go, I don't know, even to a semi-decent one, they start questioning like all these things about you. And then like you'll say some bullshit and they'll go, so why are you doing that? Like they pull it out and like you're totally in shock because you don't even think about that you've been doing that. And so now when I read things, and some woman be going on, I go, oh, I could tell right now she never went to therapy because right away they would go, why are you doing that? Why are you protecting that man? You know, it's like this thing. So that's what's happening here. And it tells me that Sharon Stone is such a damn abuser. I would not want to be her friend. And it's telling me a lot. It should tell you guys a lot. I mean, what the hell? So if one of her other guy friends molested you and you say something, her automatic thing is going to be degrade you and say what the perpetrator's telling you. And Kevin is a very big manipulator. We've gone through this thing. He's a very calculated manipulator. He will present himself in the most ridiculous, like over the top dramatica ways, you know, and I'm articulate and, you know, I went to Ivy League school, you know, he's going to do this bullshit. And he's like, you know, these people want to really take me down, you know, this thing, that's him. The ridiculousness of him. I actually found another guy that's just like him today, and I don't even know who that guy is, and he's a piece of garbage. Wanting to promote that he wouldn't rape some woman and yada yaddies from, he's like a Brit from, I got maybe the UK somewhere. Anyways, he's a YouTube guy as well, and he's very articulate to the point of being boring as hell. You know, like those people, he's like, you know, I really do not want to be perceived in this way, and, you know, he talks like this, you know, and he's a straight up socio. Anyway, it's the same bullshit. And then they got like these huge followings. And then people like look at them, they're like, wow, they're so smart. It's like, no, he's just an asshole and he talks that way. So then, is she blaming Spacey's accusers for being closeted men? Or for being blackmailers? Her point is hardly legible. Luckily, the Hollywood Reporter gave her the opportunity to expand on her defense, and while it is a little easier to understand, it's frankly not any less baffling. Stone has spoken before about her experience with abuse and misogyny in the industry, and yet here she's spewing misogyny, right? Because it goes both ways. I mean, it goes this, okay, so as we're talking about men treating us like crap, the same men that treat us like crap treat other men like crap. And that's what I've been trying to lay out. And even more so now because we're really getting down to the nitty gritty of this problem right here. And the women are enabling it. Well, we knew the women were enabling it on us, but oh, they're definitely enabling it on other men. What's this? You know, so in the industry. Okay, so then she suggests some of the post-Me Too shifts have been a stifling overcorrection. Okay, so this is where they start backpedaling because the women, so why would you backpedal? So you guys have to think about this for a moment. Why would you backpedal? So I would backpedal, I mean, hopefully I won't backpedal, but I personally, if I started acting like this, it would be because I had done something that is being thrown into the public as a bad thing. Right? So if you say running around and pulling people's pants down is a sexual assault. Now, I've actually covered this about 1 million times, and it was a very common thing that a lot of people were doing way back in the day. And if I didn't want to get in trouble for it, or I felt like, hey, we should just minimize that because I don't see that as a big deal, and we shouldn't go that far with things because I did it. You know, this thing, right? So that's why you would backpedal on something, and because you're guilty. Because you're guilty. So you have to question, what the hell did she do? So when she's outing other people, or if she ever did at all, which I don't really feel on that Paul thing, it felt more of a cuddle fest, really. And there was an asshole on the set when I was working with that guy. So no. And I don't, and that was one of those things that's like, I don't know who said it, but I believe it was him. But it's one of those things that I didn't even know who he was when I was working on the set, such as when I was working with the Harvey sets. I didn't know who they were, but I just did my job, and then everybody's an asshole. And then so I talk about, oh, these people are such assholes, but I don't know what their names are. Um, but yeah, so she was talking about that. And then he taped her with her underwear, no underwear crap, and did this and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, Paul veer away from that guy's such a piece of crap. And then you hear him talking outside the context of me, context of nobody's talking about me, out of the context of her. And then he just starts going on with his very hate speech on women, just generally. And it's like, yeah, that's the problem right there. And they're not normal guys, okay? So they have personality disorders. Okay, and so does she. I was like, and so does she, because you would not want to backpedal this. Why would you overcorrection? How do you overcorrect a problem that's never been corrected? I mean, I don't know, but just anyway, whatever. She's on the protection of, I got to protect these men, and she probably has touched these men. So this is another problem with these women, these types, where they're in Hollywood, right? So they'll complain a little bit about something, but in the background there, they be raping some men. That's the truth of it. Like, I named a couple of women out here who they did it in public and then they bragged about it. And I'm like, well, we cannot okay them to do on other men. And it was right when the men were calling this out at the time, because they're like, well, how come you guys can't do that? You're complaining about men doing it to you. You cannot okay it for women to do it to men. Now, there was comments like this throughout, the thing. They're getting pissed off because there is a double standard in that area too. But not, I don't know if you want to say double standard. They were just okaying it all around. So it was like men weren't getting in trouble for it. And then if you're not going to get in trouble for it for doing it to women, then you sure as hell ain't going to get in trouble for it to doing it to other men. And, but again, at that time when that was going on, the scope of the problem wasn't quite known yet. It was like, some men said here and there, no, you can't rape us, and yeah. So you didn't really have the full scope of this entire thing. I mean, as we do now. In fact, more so than they're even talking about in public. It's like, oh, I got it. I got it now. It took a long time, but no. So she goes, also, we really need to delineate, I don't know, between what's a misdemeanor and what's a felony. That needs to happen. There's a difference between a slap on the ass and rape. Oh, really? Both things are about no agency, and I'm just going to touch you. So, no, you don't get to determine that. So, any person that's running around touching anybody, just generally, that's a sexual assault. So, sexual assault. So, she wants to do this thing. We're going to minimize some guy groping you, and that needs to be a minor thing. And we're going to totally go, rape is the worst thing in the world. And I've actually talked about this, that no, it actually isn't. The mental fuckery from these perpetrators and their conduct, mostly afterwards, is the hell of the universe right there. And these victims of his can comprehend what I'm talking about. because the action that he originally did was bad enough, but the verbal beatdown, this whole conduct right here is the most psychologically fucked up thing that you'll ever go through. And he's just started, okay? So the hell that I went through with this other perpetrator, which, lasted from childhood till, till he died, I guess. That they there was a long stem manipulation, there was a grooming, there was this thing, and then it was just a head game through this whole thing. And then you discover that nothing's real. Okay, this is fucked up. But like, it's worse than anybody trying to rape me. It's worse than anybody raping me. It's worse than any of those things. And I have to sit there and I'm tangled up in this narcissist web of this game. And then they continue to spin it. And they spin it and they spin it. And then they get a million evil, flying monkeys after me. Right? This whole thing. And then after they died, there's still a million flying fucking monkeys. And then it destroys your career because now they're saying that, blackmail, doing that, doing all this crap, right? Oh, they made up this. And then it starts destroying the outer universes of your life to where nobody want to hire you again. Everybody's calling you a liar and you're just trying to go after money. And, they spin this huge thing around. So this is what he's doing. That's worse than the actual action of rape, in my opinion. And again, everybody's their own individual. And some other people may think that that's nothing compared to the action of rape. Now, it depends what happened in their, what the perpetrator did. Now, some people were close to death. There could be, so you can't define that just because of the action of rape. It is a individual thing to the traumatic experience of a human being. And it does not necessarily need to involve rape. How about being thrown in a gutter? That's very traumatic. That is more traumatic than some night of some perpetrator that I don't even know who they are, doing something to me about 20, 30 years ago, right? Because now you're talking about something that's even more long lasting and something I have to physically go through and try to get out of, and people are pushing you down. Like, there's a whole thing to this. But the way that they perceive this is pretty effed up. And so I don't listen to these people. They're like, rape is the worst crime ever. Yeah, those people. Okay, so they're fake on top of it, and they actually don't believe that. Okay, so there's a difference between a slap on the ass and rape. Okay, so at some point here, she's like, almost like, I admit that Kevin be slapping some asses, and I actually don't see any problem with it, okay? It's totally cool. Even though right before this, she said they're trying to get after money. Okay, they aren't the same thing. That's when the interviewer brings up her defense of Kevin Spacey presented in full context. People are mad at me for that. I said that after being in therapy for 7 years. Can we know your therapist? Because they need to lose their license. And you know what? You get to choose your therapist. So you go to people and you manipulate them. And this is the crap that they have you saying. Can we know your therapist? We should know your therapist. Because your therapist is telling you to go after other people's victims. That's really interesting. If you have a quack therapist like that, we should just cancel this whole thing. Nobody should be forced to go to therapy then. Because you're becoming a bully. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. I go, you could go to therapy. These people fake crusade. They go into their therapist and they don't tell them the real truth about themselves. They're garbage, right? That's garbage. You don't go after other people's victims like that. Why are you fighting his fight? Then she goes, not being allowed to work, losing his home, losing everything. Hey, this is called accountability. There's a thing called okay, so your actions should come back and bite you in the ass. Like, if you're doing horrible things to people and you start losing things around you, that's your own fault, right? Isn't that his own fault? That's his own fault. That isn't something where this isn't something where somebody's maliciously going after him and trying to take him down because we just don't like him. This thing, it's his actions and people don't want to work with him because he's harmed other people. He caused his own problems. This is that thing. So she's in here trying to help him out. Again, your therapist sucks because your therapist should be going, why are you doing that? What's wrong with you, Sharon? It's this whole thing, right? It's very vindictive. And she feels the need to protect other perpetrators. So that's another thing. What is she getting from this? Maybe she got paid. I don't know. You know what I mean? He should be allowed to come back. Nobody needs to be allowed to come back from anything. So, no. What is this entitlement? For some reason, have you guys heard any of these celebrities say, I should be allowed to come back into the music industry? Did you hear anybody doing that? Literally not a single person. Not a single person, but you do see this right here. So blackballing the victims out of an industry is totally fine. But the perpetrators, how dare you? Don't take them down. They have the right to come back. Oh, okay. So this is the thing. And he hasn't even been in trouble for it. Like, he got sued, he got these things, but he didn't go to jail. He's not in therapy for touching kids. He's not in therapy for molesting everybody. He's not in any of these things. So there's no accountability. Like, there's no actual accountability. But you need to let him back. It's like he's what do you call it? He's a risk. He's a production risk to where people can get sued. Because you can't knowingly go throw somebody back in there and then he starts touching everybody. So guess who I'm going to sue? So if I go work on a production with Kevin and they go hire him and then I go work on the production and Kevin touches me, guess who I'm going to sue? So he is a liability to anybody that hires him. And so, no. He reached out to everybody he's offended and he said he's sorry. Again, that is a very typical thing that narcissists do. Are they sorry? No. And second of all, he's not fixed. So so you want to risk everybody else's safety around because he said he's sorry? Like, I didn't know that sorry all of a sudden wipes away the universe and we have to just all of a sudden erase everything and then put him back. Would you hire him as a school teacher? Kevin grabbed people by their genitals. Many people. But nobody has publicly said he's raped them or forced them into sexual encounters. What do you call that? Her brain. That's why I said, here's the scrambled egg brain. You just grab somebody's genitals? Is it action of rape? Do you know that digital penetration, mostly for females, is rape? So your hand is on somebody's genitals. That is an action of rape. I've never done that. So on their genitals? Not without consent. Like, not without consent. So that is a form of rape. It actually is. So her argument is that's not a big deal. And for men, how do you digitally penetrate? Well, I could go there with, you guys don't want to hear what this other guy used to do to himself. But you're talking about that action right there. It is definitely an action of rape. So she wants to argue to men that that's not even rape. or sexual assault, I guess. That's a sexual assault, honey. So, and now, see, to me, when I'm reading this, when I'm reading this and her stance on it, it makes me think that she has ran around grabbing people's genitals. Believe it or not, there's a lot of women that have done this. I was like, believe it or not. And they haven't, for whatever reason, like, that's an okay thing to do. So, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. But nobody has publicly said he raped them or forced them into a sexual encounter. But there's so much hatred for him. No, Anthony Rapp said that he basically attempted to rape him. Basically, that's what that would be. And yes, there were allegations of these things. There absolutely was. So yes, and they've been out and they're in the public arena. So I know a lot of the stories, if not most of them. And so there's hundreds and probably thousands of stories out here of the allegations on him. And a majority of those people did not come forward. Some of those people, just they're seeing, okay, so when you're a victim of this and you're seeing the public circus on it, they do not want to get involved in that right there. And Harvey Weinstein has victims like this as well, where they didn't come forward because that garbage over there. So, yeah, now they're saying there's a lot more victims. Yeah, obviously so. So, so she goes, but there's so much hatred for him because in his case it was man on man. As it should be. We shouldn't be okaying any of that. Just because he's a man doesn't okay him to go out raping everybody. Okay, so that's why he's not allowed to come back. We should okay man on man. Why do you think they rape us? I like people that use their brain over here, but nobody else does, okay? So the people that come over here literally think. They think a lot. And sometimes we don't agree, but we think a lot. And so why would you okay man on man for him to grope anybody? Because he's going to grope me. He's going to grope you. And you're fine with it because you seem to like him. So you probably sit there and you guys grope each other. So, but the thing is that that's why he's not allowed to come back. Because he's offended men. Wow. Okay. But can I tell you how many men can I tell you how many men have grabbed my genitals in my lifetime? Okay, but we're not okaying that. A lot more than Kevin Spacey has grabbed men's genitals, and none of them have ever apologized to me. Okay, well, first of all, this story isn't about you. Like, here's a real thing. Like, the story actually isn't about Sharon. So she's, like, almost saying, it's almost like there's this underlying vindictive thing where she's like, I hate men so much, so he should be allowed to rape them all too. Is that what you get from it? That's what I get from it. It's kind of weird. So, but I could tell you how many men have grabbed my genitals in my lifetime. A lot more than Kevin Spacey has grabbed men's genitals. And I don't know about that. My genitals have not been grabbed that much, okay? Kevin already outpassed anybody grabbing my genitals just by the few victims that he had in his early life. So, for the most part, the groping and the rapes were like in the dozens, right? In the 2 dozens or so right there. But the sexual assaults more had to do with groping other parts of my body and doing things like that, or attempting to rape me and things like that. But as far as like grabbing my genitals, no, that's not an as common thing, versus these other actions like grabbing your chest or your butt or, other parts of your body. So she's full of shit. I'm like, she's full of shit. So a lot more than Kevin Spacey has grabbed men's genitals. And none of them have ever apologized to me. Well, first off, I don't need any apologies because I'm not going to accept them. That's just me. It's like, you did it. I don't accept apologies for things like that, and nor would they change, and nor did anybody have any respect for me at the time when they did it. So I'm not over here waiting for an apology. I'm just saying, I have said that none of these people have ever apologized to me, but no, I mean, do I expect it? No, because they're piles of shit. So why would it, what would it do? That would be another manipulation from the perpetrator. I'm so sorry. Could we hang out again? Yeah. Okay. So we're not going there. So there's a lot to unpack here. While Kevin has been the victor in 2 trials, because we have a bunch of Karens like her. Okay. So when they're doing these trials, the people in the courts and, the laws surrounding all this stuff, are people that are okay with rape. Just generally. Mostly in the UK. Oh, God. See, that other guy was from the UK, and I was pulling him up. A civil lawsuit in the UK is still pending. He has, at this point, been accused of sexual assault by dozens of individuals. 20 people within the old theater alone. And I know there's way more than that, you guys, from the theater thing. That was, like, one of the top ones I kept running across. I was talking about it. I go, yeah, the theater. I go, there's this theater place, and he kept, like, doing this stuff. Kevin did publicly apologize, but is that accountability? No. To accuser Anthony with the caveat, if this happened, yeah, so then he recanted, right? So Everything's for like whatever works for him in the moment. So he will shift to wherever it leads, to him being, back into his normal behavior again. And he will manipulate and manipulate through and through until he gets what he wants. Okay. So unfortunately, these type of people are the ones that come after me, and then they'll manipulate the victim story into acting as how they are. So I just want to make that clear because you'll see like how they try to do that with us when we're talking about it, and they'll flip it around and then make themselves the victim. It's the craziest thing, but this is part of their trait. So, and sure, there's a difference between a slap on the ass and rape, but there really isn't. Because technically, when I'm talking about this topic, that rape is an action from a person that has a personality disorder that has a disregard to other humans, and they're harm to self and others, and it's just another action of a rapist when they go and slap you. They can be physically abusive. They can do just really bad behaviors to themselves and others. And when you start seeing the power and control issues and the manipulation, all those things are actions of a perpetrator, of a person with that PD. And so that's what I'm saying. I go, they need to do a lot more research on it because we actually know how Kevin came about, which is the good, positive portion of the story, is that you actually get to see it kind of more laid out because people were really honest in this family circle over here, and that you're getting more of the details of how that transpired. And then you're also seeing the public fuel. The public fuel is really important in the matter too, and why this wouldn't be a curable thing. So that's why I was talking about it. I go, it's currently not curable, okay? But I have some critique on the approach to people with this problem, and the matter of them even thinking that they have a problem, because they've been told they've been normal men the whole time and they haven't been. And regardless if they're gay or not, it just so happens to be. But even regardless if they identified as a straight man, the straight man still rapes other men, so they don't consider themselves gay. I was like, but I'm like, I would like to put that up for a debate. But anyway, so no, because they just don't have any regards for any humans. So then therefore they wouldn't have any regards to age. So the age of consent thing really means nothing to people like him, because he grabs everybody, right? So if he cared about the rules and laws and people's agency and consent, then he wouldn't do any of these things at all, right? But an unwanted assault is an assault. Groping someone's genital is a form of forcing someone into a sexual encounter. It's a form of rape. That's what I've been talking about. I go, it's a form of rape. It's just the wording. Like, we're so behind in the way that we're viewing this, and where you're creeping into how it was like the start of this was like, okay, this wasn't the worst rape, so I'll only bring up the one that I view as being the worst one. So we won't talk about this other case because they keep saying that we're making stuff up. So yeah, it's a grooming thing. Like, the perpetrators have made people feel that way, and they know they're all rapists. Because otherwise, why would government say, don't walk alone at night, ladies, because we're all rapists? I mean, that's basically what they're saying. So it's not like they don't know they're all rapists, Why would we have to walk with other people if you didn't view everybody as a goddamn rapist? So they know they're rapists. So it's this game. It's a game. It's a manipulative game. And they all know what they did. So don't buy into it. And so I didn't want to jump over it. The fuel. Okay, so the fuel is the enablers, the public enablers to it. So you see the fuel. So you can't correct somebody when the mass majority is enabling it, right? So if you had a drug problem and you're trying to like not be around it anymore, well, the last place you're going to go is like into a bar where, there's a bunch of drug addicts, like, I mean, you knowingly go in there and you're trying to go, oh yeah, I'm really trying to stop doing drugs. I was like, yeah, it's about the last place you would choose to go. But when the Globe is actually like that bar and everybody in there's drinking, how are you supposed to fix the person that has the problem in there? Like, you can't, because everybody around there is doing it. And this is what's normal in the bar, right? To drink. I mean, and maybe do drugs. Depending, you went to Depp's bar or something. But I'm just saying it's a normal thing for them to do that. So why would it change? Or you're capable of trying to change. I'm saying, yeah, go in there and be sober. And you're the only sober person in there. I've done that actually, though. I mean, I've been into bars where I didn't drink. I mean, but I don't have an addiction problem, so that's not a problem. But if I did, I think that I would drink with everybody else. So we have this fuel to this personality disorder that they also are claiming is a normal man. It is not a normal man. It is somebody with the disorder. A rapist that's part of their PD. Being a rapist is not something that's an accident. It's not something that just so happened to happen. It's not out of ignorance. It's not out of any of those things. It's a very calculated, thought out thing to harm another human and feel power and control. So that is correlated with these narcissists, which is correlated with being a psychopath. Being correlated with being a psychopath. Yeah, a sociopath. I had dubbed Kevin a psychopath from the get-go. But I have my opinions as to why I don't call people psychopaths anymore. But clinic, like, what they would want to call him is a psychopath. I'm certain, because the traits are very Ted Bundy, very Ted Bundy. He's playing the whole like charisma bullshit. He thinks he's the hottest thing in the room. He's gonna represent himself. As far as we know, he hasn't killed anybody, but he's done behavior that is so risky that it could have killed other people. That's where the line is right there. But then they started saying he started getting off on people getting blown up and shot up and losing legs and bleeding all over the place. So he really is on the line. I was surprised, like, when I was hearing about his dad, that he didn't turn to be a serial killer. That would be a horrible thing to find out. But I mean, as far as of now, I don't think there's any indication of that. But certainly on the lines of, some of those really dark things really get him going. It's probably something that his father, I don't know, his father was probably dark as hell, dude. And he had him watching these like war movies with them getting blown up all over the place. And he started sexualizing men getting blown up, The guy's so hot, dude, in his like, thing here. And then he gets blown up and then Kevin gets turned on by it. He's like, it's an explosion in my this thing. It's disturbing. It's very disturbing. Or maybe his dad was doing something to him while they were watching it. That's an addition. So there's a lot of more deeper questioning, like more nitty gritty information that I want to know, but where I highly doubt he's going to explain to the public. Yeah, like my dad used to sit on the couch with me and he put his leg over, he's not going to get into that, but that's what you want to know, like those actions as to why it transpired to this right here. But Sharon could go to hell. I'm like, she can go to hell. Like, what is that? Okay, so it says, but the allegations against Spacey do go beyond groping. Okay, so one accuser suggested he had drugged him at his apartment and claimed he woke up to Spacey performing oral sex on him, which is rape, by the way. For men, that is an action of rape. So these allegations go well past the point of offending anyone. While homophobia may indeed affect people's judgments, it's not here, I'll tell you that. Homophobia is not even on my channel, so no, they're getting mad because we're straight up calling out every person under the sun. So, men of color have gotten away with a lot of stuff too, and as you see, and more so when they're rich, okay? Because they're rich, they can do anything they want. Just men generally, it's a male thing because they harm everybody. So, where it's coming from, so it's not like one group specific, but there's groups that have been protected when they shouldn't have been protected, and the gay community is one of them. And so I'm pulling that out. It has nothing to do. If I was anti-gay, then I wouldn't care that he's harming his own. We're sitting here defending other gay men. So there's other gay men here that have been harmed by other gay men. And so we're on the side of the victims that are identifying as LGBTQ, because it's not just gay men. We have transgenders. We have all kinds of things going on here. So, no, and I was talking about these rich gay men that have been spewing hate speech on our gender, and those are the ones that are sitting there covering up all this right here. It's all correlated. It is all together. Absolutely. And so they will use that as a defense that you should not come after me because I raped some kids because I'm gay. And this actually came up in the P. Diddy story when he went to the Catholic school. When he went to the Catholic school, there was a couple men there, the priest or whatever they are, touched some other men. And one of them, it was a crazy story. So one of them, their full defense right now is that I'm getting picked on because I'm gay. And he's being accused of molesting some young boys, okay? So the other one got in trouble, and then this one is on this parade of I'm gay, so you can't touch me. I'm gay, so leave me. That's their defense, okay? That's not a good defense. That's not a defense. That's not a defense. Just because you're gay, it's not a defense. So that's where we stand on that. And then we have the evil Eltons, okay, who wants to be a monster, protecting these people. So he's another one in the story. Again, this has nothing to do with the entire community other than these people exist. They have a lot of power and control. And so they're covering up for their rich pals, and then they're harming the gay community in that way. Okay. So then we have women on the side going, we're for the gays, and then doing the same shit. And I'm calling them all out. So throwing in the homophobia over here ain't going to work, people. Oh, and they have used derogatory terms towards women the whole time. I mean, like that thing too. I mean, I just talk about the honesty about throwing out words and shit, because we all done it. But, oh yeah, the degrading speech from these men, regardless of who they are. So they could be gay, they could be anything. Have that problem. So you're not pointing that out. You're not pointing out that in here, but you're throwing this out because he's gay. So we're throwing out the gay card. We're throwing out the gay card. I was like, that's what it is. Okay, so then it doesn't erase the real harm Spacey is alleged to have inflicted. It's unclear whether Stone knows or understands the extent of the allegations against him. Oh, we're gonna play her stupid? No, she's not stupid. Or if she's being fed a very selective version of events. No, because she actually admitted, this is why you know that's not true. Because she admitted to knowing that he sexually molested and groped other men. So she tried to use a defense that, well, I've been touched more than that from other men, so therefore F this. Like, it's kind of more that than it is anything that she's so naive and dumb. But we already know Kevin's feeding this other thing. But the reality is she just admitted to you that she knows what it's about. But her viewpoint is about it, even though saying that she knows he did that, she's calling the victims the perpetrators. That came out of the same mouth. The same sentence, the same line, the same mind on that thing right there. Either way, her defense is sadly illustrative of the fact that even someone who has experienced assault themselves may be motivated to protect a predator if it's someone they care about. Cyndi Lauper. That thing. Yeah, a story came up. I won't talk about it right now. Stone's belief that Spacey should be allowed to come back also leads into an essential problem surrounding cancellation in the entertainment industry. The idea that becomes someone has been a famous movie star, they should always be a famous movie star because they are entitled, baby. They're entitled. Mostly those white people, those white men, fucking entitled. It's like the minute I got my fame, I'm entitled. Yeah, man, I wish I had this much entitlement in my brain. Fuck. I was like, it's insanity, right? A special piece of shit has this. Not everybody has that, okay? Not everybody's running around like this. Honest to God, not everybody's running around like this. But a majority of people that are running around like this are white men. I'll be damned. I was like, I'll be damned. It's usually out of them. They're like, you can't cancel me. You need to let me back in and do whatever the hell I want. How dare you? You can't get rid of me. Cancellation, cancellation. I was like, we've always had the right to be a fan or not a fan of your dumbass. And productions have the right to not hire you if you are a liability. And they argue this on me, like they're so offended by me by calling these people out, right? They're like, they have the right to sit there and discriminate against you. Okay, so shut up. It's like, what the hell? Yeah, so notice the contradiction. Dick. There's a reason why the word dick is in diction. Contradiction in this topic right here. Like, it's okay to do that to me, but I'm the victim. I didn't harm anybody. Yet. My perpetrator should never lose his job. Ever. He should touch all the kids that he wants. You know, it's like this thing. So, you gotta check us out. Okay, there are surely other ways Spacey could make a living that aren't high-level Hollywood production. I said, dude, you know what I said? OnlyFans. I said that for him, he's an OnlyFans guy. Honestly, like, the dude would, like, make a killing off it. Armie Hammer reportedly tried to sell timeshares in the Cayman Island. No one canceled or not is automatically owed roles in blockbusters. Celebrities feel fear around cancellation and losing their careers seem to peak as much of to the ego of fame that wealth, power, and recognition are things they inherently deserve. Yeah, white men. Particularly white men, but black men, I believe the thing with people of color is that because of the slavery thing, that when you're viewing the world, you see all the good happening to the white man, and it's like, that's what, you know, that really means you made it, you know, at some point. And I go, everything was all wrong about the picture from the start, okay? So nobody should be trying to aspire to be that white man, okay? And I think it has something to do with that. But it's sort of a force in society that they have to be this certain way. But also, mostly if you go to a Catholic church school, like, what the hell? That ain't gonna come out right ever. But yeah, things like that. And you know, like, it's like the white man always human trafficked women, so black men obviously pick that up, and it's an okay thing to do. So when you have a whole society of men going, yeah, that's the whole thing is to get wealthy, powerful, fame, and run a human trafficking ring. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Like, that, honest to God, that is literally what they threw out here. And I'm just viewing it. I always had a problem with it, so it wasn't even something I was like totally down with. Like, I want to be part of the human trafficking ring with these men. No. I was like, I always had a problem with that. I go, we're not an object, so I don't know what the hell that is right there. But that's what they always aspired to do. They wanted a human trafficking ring. They wanted a harem. They wanted, you know, this thing. And then now they're getting busted for it, which is good. And then they're just like, how dare you take me down? You know, it's like this thing. Now, they didn't have this thing of a promotion of having a harem of men. Kevin came up with that. So no, there's a bunch of men out here that were doing it. So it wasn't a topic like the A and the Crombie and Fitch guy, where he had the human trafficking ring of, you know, model young boys, you know. And so these are newer topics. And it's the same thing, basically. It's just a gay man wants boys. And it's like men wanted a harem of women. Like, that's supposed to be what you are supposed to earn and get. And so they run this human trafficking ring. This has been massively promoted. I'll be down that some damn woman come up in here and try to defend that shit. Regardless, Spacey's got Italian film director. I'm gonna barf. Like, he needs to stay away from our fucking ancestry over there. Film festivals willing to vet him. and famous friends willing to cape for him, and it looks like he'll be just fine. Well, isn't that the case? Like, because of the male supremacy will lead to that, right? Because they will always have sympathy for the other man, because they're all bad, terrible criminals. So all the criminals have empathy for each other because they got to protect their own house, right? Not the people that are getting touched up in here, except for a few of them that need to get their head checked. Some of these women, I was assaulted, so therefore, let me tell you, don't mess with my perpetrator over here. Yeah, this crap. So therapy is in question. I love it though. I went to 7 years in therapy, and I'm gonna start degrading these like victims over here and not call it anything. This is crazy. But I don't trust these celebrity therapists. I honest to God believe these celebrity therapists rub up on them. When they come in, they're like, I don't want to say anything bad to these people, because they're famous and they'll say something bad about me. So I'm going to just enable the shit out of them and not tell them that they're a goddamn sociopath. Honest to God. No, I don't think they're doing their job at all. None. Like, there's no way in hell. I'm just saying that I know for a fact that whatever therapist she saw is a piece of shit. We don't know what that therapist is. It could be some lollybaba person that's not even credentials, this thing. And, or some religious like therapist. Like that doesn't count, dude. That is not accurate. That's not proper. Like that's not proper. And we've seen some other weird ones too before, but I was like, no, it's not proper. Mostly when they start going, how could you not believe in a God? You need to believe in a God. I'm like, I'm in therapy. Like, is this a church? Like, I'm not and they weren't Christian either. I got them because they weren't Christian. That was the weird thing about it. And then yet they still wanted to force that you need to believe in a God in order to go through therapy. And I was like, huh? You should never mix those two things together. I'm going to tell you, you should never mix those two things together. Ever. You go to church for that shit. You don't go to therapy for that shit. That was a crazy ass thing. No, she believed in, I don't know, some I have no idea. I'm like, I have no idea. It wasn't a Christian God. I have no idea. It was really bizarre. They literally stopped. They literally stopped in the middle of the session. I was just like, you need to believe in something, in order for me to go through therapy. I was like, no, I don't. No. What does that have to do with my therapy? Me believing in a fucking spaghetti god. That has nothing to do with what we're going through right now. You know what I mean? It's this thing. And then, and also, if you connect those things together and your world is wrapped up around this, like, ideology, which I've always had a problem with that ideology there, but any of these ideologies, and it changes one day, you're going to have a lot of problems, mostly when you connect things to that and you view it through this lens. Those things really shouldn't be together at all, because it could literally spiral you out, which I've seen this happen multiple times with these people that connect their mental health with their religion, and then they it'll be things like I'm talking about this stuff, and I not necessarily for me, but just other people in the world, but it'll knock them off kilter and they can't handle life, and then they go right back to that, and then they're mentally off kilter still. Like, there's this whole cycle of things to that. It shouldn't be together, honey. And no, not at all. And that was just bizarre. That was just one of the early things. But I was like, yeah, she probably has some like spiritual like Baba guru. And they're like, you're totally fine. You're totally fine, Miss Sharon Stone. Go pick on some other male victims, because that's making you feel more powerful about yourself. So this is another version of power abuse as well, because Sharon Stone's well known. Kevin Spacey's well known. Kevin's victims are not well known. There's one that's well known, but that's about it. And he claims that he tried to use him to be well known, which doesn't make any sense because he was already out here. But everybody else is not well known. So they're abusing their position of power, and she's doing that. So she's a terrible human. So I cancel Sharon. Not that I ever even fucking watched her. I have to listen to her, though, when I'm going through the stories in the media. and they were talking about Paul because I was like, yeah, I had a bad experience on Starship Troopers. Do you guys remember Starship Troopers? That thing was a pile of shit. And that was my first movie, one of the first movies I worked on. And yeah, somebody called me like a dumb bitch or so. They called me something. You got. I don't want to say for sure because like what it was because it's so long ago. They could pull up a reel or something and then it's like not there. No, they called me something like dumb something something, and I'm like, oh my god, do I want to work in this industry anymore? Because, like I said, and it was their fault because I never worked on a set like that before. And so they were giving me direction to walk across the scene. And so I do it. I'm a literal person. You tell me walk across the scene, I'm going to walk across the scene. So technically, they wanted me to walk behind the actors, and I walked in front of them. And I hadn't worked enough to even know any other thing to debate this because I have worked on other things later where they did want me to walk in front of the camera. Yeah, there was a thing about it. So depending on the director or how they want to be artsy fartsy about that shit. Anyway, so they told me to walk across the scene. So I walked across the scene and I walked in front of the camera and they flipped the fuck out. I mean, they literally flipped the fuck out. And I got scared because I was like, I don't know. I did what they said. You know, it's like this thing. And then they called me some name and I was like, oh, dude, what? And I didn't go home or anything like that. And then some other people on the set they seemed to be bullies. And then one was having a fit. They were so entitled brats. Like, that was not a good experience. Luckily, it didn't deter me from, like, not working anymore, but it was not a good experience. And I was like, oh, please don't tell me, like, working on these sets are going to be just like this forever. Because then you don't want to do it. I mean, it was not a good experience. And then now in hindsight, too, kind of reminds me of a little Hitlerish thing that was going on in that scene. I was like, I don't know. Maybe you should ask the Jews about that scene. I don't know. It's a little weird right there. Um, I didn't even understand what the hell the movie was and what the hell we were doing. I didn't know anything about it. I'm like, they just show up and, you do this. Okay, get out of here. I'm like, okay. I'm somebody to make fun of. I'm somebody that you're never going to forget. And I'm somebody that I'm never going to forget what you did. All right. All right, actually, the comments on here are interesting. You never know where they're gonna go because sometimes I go on a site and sometimes like the whole site is like, Kevin is getting picked on. He's a victim, doing this crap. But actually, these people are like, what does she want to have happen here? He's a good actor, but there's a lot of good actors, right? That's what I was saying. Like they keep going. We would have never had, Albert Einstein, because apparently he is. But also you canceled out all the women, so you never knew about a female Einstein, right? So they didn't exist because you ran them over, right? Because you let a piece of shit up in the front over everybody else. Okay, so again, what does she want to have happen here? She wants Spacey to give her a pat on the head. She's getting her cookie, her nookie for the fucking night. That's exactly what's happening. She's a tool. I haven't used that word in a million years. I'm really starting to get the idea that a lot of celebrities conflate being famous with being beloved. Yes. It's not love. I was like, it's not love. Here's what they want, because they're narcissists, right? A lot of these people are major narcissists with personality disorders. So here's what they want from you. They want you to love them. They don't love you at all. They don't care about you at all. They're not posting happy birthday to me, are they? Oh no, I don't see a happy birthday to me. But I sure as damn gotta sit there and pay attention to their stupid ass. Okay, so they want me to give them all the adoring attention so I can buy them a McMansion, because the more of us idiots go and pay attention to them, we give them a lifestyle. We're just as guilty. And it was something I had to think about, like really think about. I mean, the stupidity of me over the years where I'm funding an asshole that's sitting there talking some shit to me and he's enjoying my money all day long. And he's enjoying ripping me off. And he's enjoying tearing me down. But he certainly has a problem with consent. I mean, honestly, because people that play that game, we won't get into that. I was like, so anyway, so same with the Morgan Wallen thing. No, I don't, who's Morgan Wallen? Okay, nobody actually did anything. We just received news that a guy was a freak and he kept living our lives. There are millions of scared Kevin Spacey fans who feel silenced and unable to speak out. Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of I wouldn't even say they're all scared. There's some in the story where it's like, who the hell is gonna go to the cops and go, Kevin rubbed his leg up on me in the spa, and because they already know that the cops are not going to do anything about it, right? And it's a bad thing that happened, and it's happened to us too, as women, this type of conduct. But we would never be out of the police department, and we already know that the police are a bunch of rapists, and they wouldn't do anything anyway. So you would never leave the police station because, oh, this guy came up to me and grabbed my butt. Oh, and about 10 minutes later, this other one, and they go, oh, you're a liar. You just want to make up some, they would go on this whole thing, right? So people that have experiences like that are not going to go through this whole bullshit to go on that thing right there. It's just the truth. It's not even that they're scared. It's just like, what's the point? What's the point? You come out, okay, so you're defending the other victims, right? We already know there's a million victims. It's not even that. It's like they're going to come out and go, he did this to my leg. And everybody's going to be like, oh, who cares? Sharon's going to go, that's not a big deal. I opened my legs for, Paul. So, yeah, it's across the world. It's going to be this thing. And there's a major problem with Kevin doing that. He's a perpetrator. But this is how they minimize it, so. We're all just trying to work and pay our bills with some free time to enjoy a movie or TV show. Even great a freak like us who are still frequently the comment section of the entertainment news don't dedicate that much brain power to actually caring about these people. Oh no, there's a lot of people that care about these people. You'll care more about these people when you have to work with them, okay? Because that shit right there, I was stressing this. I go, I didn't get propositioned on set, but a bunch of them were a bunch of abusive assholes. Like, if we want to talk about that, I was like, we could talk about that. And it was offensive. Again, I'm not defending Ellen's actions on any effing level because I don't know her. I never worked with her. I've never been around her on any capacity of that. However, the main majority of the industry is a bunch of men. And in the industry, it was a lot of the men that were being abusive just like that. And somehow it is okay when men act that way. And so nobody calls out the men. It's like you get the Sharon Stones going, I got to protect him. And, he gave me my, life by spreading my legs open for TV. And, I just fucking get out of this thing, right? This is what you're seeing. And then they did it with Depp too. Okay. So he had an open history of being really bad. And I mean, really bad. And, but when you ask the people that are friends with him, of course they're going to say he's wonderful. Like, what are you going to get from those people? See, now, I'm a different breed. I'm brutally honest. So if my friend's being an asshole, I will literally say my friend's been an asshole. I'm a different breed. I'm a rare breed. Okay, so and they don't like me because I do that. They'll say I'm not loyal and all this shit like that. I go, no, I'm just brutally honest. I mean, if you're being a dickwad, you're being a dickwad. And I've told guys that. I've told women that. I go, you're being fucking an asshole. It's that thing. So they have a problem with being honest. They're ass kissers. They're enablers. They're every type of character that I don't want in my life. I want somebody honest because, like, if I'm doing something, and I'm not saying being vindictively, abusive or anything like that, but I'm saying that if there's a behavior they may see that's not really great, you want people to keep you in check like that. These people right here will literally enable you. You're totally fine. You can go drink and drive. We all do it up in here, so go do it, and then they kill everybody. Okay, so yeah, those people. So they're fine when their guys were touching me, and they're like, well, he's my friend, so we're going to protect them over here, even though they've been with a bunch of kids. Like, they've justified them raping kids, like, I don't know, just in ways that I don't even know how it's happening. I'm just like, somehow they justified this and glorified raping kids and running a human trafficking ring, and then made a glorification movie out of it. And somehow Homeland is just like, that's totally cool. And I'm just like, I don't even know how the fuck this is going on. I was not a part of no fucking ring here. I mean, not that I didn't know anything about it. And then they let him get more kids. And I'm like, this is insane. And then it said they connected them with the Rape Foundation. I go, no fucking way, dude. No way. And then they're doing stuff with kids. And I go, no way. No way. So it means that all the people, even if they start touching kids or doing any of these things, they're not going to report it. They also seem to think that fame and fortune works like a racket. And once you reach a certain level, slipping back is an unfair punishment. Exactly. It's an unfair punishment when you're on a level where you have opportunities coming up. And because of their conduct on you, they destroy it. That's actually been the consistent actions of these people the entire time. And to them, that's okay. Okay? So then they start playing the victim. The victim card is right here. I deserve to work again. Okay, so there's the victim card right there. So they're playing the victim, but yet they do these other things, right? And they use getting into the industry because they love the power and control of it. They use that to perpetrate on other people, which Kevin had done, and saying, "Hey, that's the lure, right? That's the what do you want to call it? The bait on the hook, where he flings it out and he goes, I know I can get this guy by telling him I can get him into the industry, but I have no, intention of doing so. I just want to rape him for the night, right? That's him. So he flings it out there and he uses it as the lure on bait. And that's your typical sociopath, right? So that's the very calculated move. And so then they do that. So that's what happened to me. Okay. So it's like, oh, this girl want to do this. Now, they did think I was talented because nobody's going to sit there and deal with me for 10 years for not being talented. I don't care how much they want to rape you. They can rape anybody. So there was some sort of game here. I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm not in the perpetrator's head, but I think there was some sort of thing of keeping me close and wanting to own me. And then the thought of me shooting off into, stardom, was not something he wanted. Like, there was a possessive control thing here. Yeah, I believe that was part of it because all this stuff kind of happened at the time that there was some interest in them wanting to, there was some interest in this area right here. We're just putting it that way. There was some talks, and I was trying to understand what these different things were in the industry because I didn't even know it existed. And they were some other people were weighing in, like, why you wouldn't want to do this and why you'd want to do that. And it's probably not a good idea. And then other people debated, that's not true. And I don't know. Anyway, so there was this whole thing going on right there. And then, yeah, and then this other stuff happened. So, yeah, so they purposely destroyed that. Yeah. The fact that okay, so the entitlement of him being in the industry, but also the entitlement of other people touching other people, that is a major problem. So anybody that's even trying to defend that, we're just skipping over you. We're stuck because we can't decide which is the Limus test, how it made other person feel versus what it actually was. A pat on the ass might make one person feel terrible and another annoyed. One person might fixate on the ass pat and the other might shrug it off. Same pat, different asses. I think there should be a consequence, but it should be the same regardless of the difference in feeling between the two people whose asses were patted. Someone is going to be disappointed, but sometimes that's just life. The problem is that there's a lot of victims that justify sexual behavior and they're the problem. So it's a sexual assault, period. The entitlement of running around just patting someone on the ass. The fact that this is just justifiably normal behavior in society is insanity. All right. This is the core of it, but I could tell you how many men have grabbed my yeah. Okay, so Jonathan is zooming in on this. Let's see what he says. This is the core of it. But can I tell you how many men have grabbed my genitals in my lifetime? A lot more Kevin Spacey's have grabbed my genitals. And none of them have ever apologized to me. It always comes down to like this, to these selfish boomers. I call them boomer groomers. You should call them boomer groomers too, because they were the groomers of the Generation X. And then they got groomed also. They groomed people, but they also got groomed by the generation prior. The generation prior was about a million times worse. And because I had to go through it, others should have to go through it. What happened to make the world a better place for the generation? Sharon Stone can go eat rocks. Yeah, there's this weird thing that because I suffered, you should suffer too. Are you hearing that from me? Like what I'm saying is, so when I'm pulling this up, I go, and I've used the comment, you know, like I've never gotten an apology, but I'm not expecting one, but I'm not using it to justify me okaying rapists on other people. Now I have pointed out these two women who are both bad in their own right, saying like it doesn't feel good, right? Because they're hypocrisy, but I'm not promoting either one's conduct on each other. I'm not promoting any of that. And it's just like, I go, yeah, it doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. But I'm not saying they're saying go and do it. Like this, I think there's a different thing to that because the thing is I didn't want that to happen. And I actually was one of the first ones to come up and explain the conduct that the perpetrators were doing at the time of when it wasn't even a topic. Because I go, oh, I had it done to me. Let me explain. So they're going to twist it out of context because she's going to do this and then he's going to say this. Like, Sharon, maybe you should be mad at those grabbers and their lack of apologies in lieu of giving Spacey a free pass because guys got away with it on you. Isn't it very vindictive though, right? We've seen women do this. They're vindictive. It's like, I got raped, so you should too. It's like this thing. Honest to God, it's like evil grandma, dude. Evil grandma, evil grandma. Shouldn't you be madder at Spacey because you've been through that type of shit? Yeah. I mean, honestly, Kevin wouldn't be my friend at this point. I'm just saying, Kevin be raping all the kids and touching everybody out here. Like, at this point, I don't want him talking to me. You know what I mean? It would be this thing. I would be really pissed off. You can see it, Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman moment here, where it's like, I just need some time here before I, like, literally lose my shit. But, yeah, so she's doing that thing. But she's outright saying she's just evil. Basically, she's saying people get grabbed by their genitals and you just need to move on and stop whining about it. But no, the other thing that's annoying about that is that she said that she went to therapy for 7 years. They've been doing this. Like, they'll do this thing. I'm a woman, I'm a rape victim, so therefore women need to, like, go to hell. Like, they'll do this thing. Like, they'll use, because I'm a victim, I have credibility to call women liars. I don't know. It's this weird thing. There's rare cases where that pops up. I mean, where actually somebody might have made something up. But, like, they'll say things like, I would have went to the cops the first time because I'm a real victim and that's what I did. It's like, good for you. Shut the fuck up, you know? Like, it's like this thing about it. Like, I have the right because I did this. So, therefore, because you didn't do this, I'm going to trash the crap out of you and you don't deserve justice. It's like this thing. You have to sit there and look at the whole perspective because, and I have so many perpetrators that there's like this group of them where I did go to the cops. And then there's this group of them where I didn't. And so as I'm examining the ones that I didn't, you know, there's a lot to be said about that. So it didn't have anything to do with, you know, oh, I fear the cops. It's like, that's really not what happened here. It's like, I know the cops are a piece of shit, and I told the cops, you know, about this one. at the time that was going on, and I knew that they were watching it. So they keep painting us all like we're all just like fearfully scared of the cops. Like, I'm like, that's not actually what's been going on. They've been making threats to me. Does it look like I'm sitting there not like I'm hiding in a hole from them? No, I went after them and tried to get them all investigated. So, and that's an action that is beyond a selfish action, because for me to get cops investigated deals with a bigger, larger problem of them doing this conduct to everybody in the public. And so these women in Hollywood want to make it about themselves. Like, I don't know what the hell, because they're all narcissists, dude. Like, they turn the topic into Harvey Weinstein. And I'm like, I'm tired of Harvey. He's a piece of crap, dude. He's one of a million. And he's not even, he got in trouble, but now he's like doing this other thing. And it's like, he's part of everybody's problem. I mean, he's part of all these men. So he's just one of everybody else. And it turned into this thing where the media has nobody else to talk about. And it's like, I didn't know the world revolved around Harvey's you know what. Did it? No. So I'm not sure she's saying she got over it so much that she was expected to get over it. That doesn't make her take coherent. People shouldn't have grabbed her genitals. Spacey shouldn't have grabbed other people's genitals. And the fact that people didn't get worked up over it happening to her doesn't mean they shouldn't now get worked up about him doing it to other people. She wants to be mad that she was ignored. Okay, so she could get mad that she was ignored. Like, I wouldn't have had a problem with her going here, because she shouldn't have been ignored. But while using it as a justification for letting him off the hook. Yeah, that right there. That's it. That's it. You guys, yeah. And she needs more therapy. I didn't do that. I never did that. I never did that. No. I hate you. So therefore. Yeah, but she's in there going after unknown victims. Like, I want to hurt you. That's her dark side. And I'm saying, please be very detailed when you're reading people's statements, like what it tells about that character. Sharon Stone, y'all don't know her. I don't know her. She be an actress, right? Her real self right there comes out, and it's evil. It is evil and dark. And you don't know that character. You don't know that real character right there. And for somebody to be friends with Kevin as well, that's not. I think there was probably a sad cause effect here. I had heard stories about Spacey from industry folks when I was in LA, and about Bryan Singer. Yeah. So Bryan Singer and actually a bunch of other guys. One of the guys died, actually. Some of you guys might not know. So I started following those people because one of the some of this stuff relates to me and my child story. So I was trying to figure out, was Bryan Singer one of the guys in the group of the gay guys that I was dealing with? Because I was dealing with the guys from the gay magazine. And so, oh yeah, homophobia, dude. No, so we were at their house, and I was trying to figure out who the individuals were, because I only have an audio now, which I didn't even know I had the audio, and I threw it up on here. And I was like, oh my God, that's a fucking trip. I didn't even know I had that from 1992. How weird is that? And I was going through some cassettes because I had old footage of stuff. And a lot of them broke over the years. And I honestly didn't know I had an answering machine with a cassette at that perpetrator's house with these people on it. And I was playing it, and I'm all, who's this? Oh my God. It was the craziest thing. So I was trying to figure out, like, who the people were, because at the time they didn't care that a kid was in the story. Me. Okay. And so they cared more about the perpetrator in the story because they were all friends. They didn't care that he got a kid. And I'm like, yeah, this is a bizarre thing here. But I wasn't technically fully blaming them. I'm just looking at the how they're perceiving what is happening at the time of, so if they saw little boys in front of them, they're not going to have a problem. So Bryan Singer was known to have, I guess, these little boy parties and, whatever crap, all kinds of stuff. Now, there was another casting agency dude that was also accused of a tank of stuff. So I pulled him up because there was a couple people that were bringing him up. I never heard of him before. I pulled him up and he was going after some of the young boys as well. Now, he died a couple years back, which I don't know what happened there. He passed away and they told me, some people told me, so I was like, okay. So he was never accountable, right? So none of these people were ever accountable. And this was leading into the gay monsters that I'm calling the gay monsters, because this is the gay community that where it protected itself. And I was talking about the craziness of that, because you're talking about multiple things going on in society at that time, where the public and the hate speech on the gays then actually cornered. It did this thing because it did it to people of color too. So it did it to women of color, because the racism caused this thing where they were targeting black men. So then black women are out here having to defend black men, but then they're perpetrating on them and raping them and no one gives a shit, right? It turns into this thing. So the same thing happened here with the gay community, where they were being targeted by the Christians, and the whole thing's all about Christians, mostly white Christians, right? So they were targeting the gay community, but in the gay community, it was leading like children to these adult predators. And so these adult predator men then start taking advantage of them. And then you get like a Milo out here going, hey, this bullshit, okay? So it turned into that. And so I've been digging into that. And then in the addition of the monsters that they're creating, if you take Peter Thal, who I got into the biggest thing about like years back, he hates women. He just openly hates women. And his perception is so warped. It's just so warped. And he's a gay male. So somehow, because he's a gay male, it's okay for him to hate on a gender. But it's like self-loathing hate. It's like this thing. And then they don't want to come out of the closet. So then they blame everybody else for this shit. But then also, the Christians were, doing this thing. And then he wants to be Christian. It's like, whatever the case is right there. It's like you're looking at how they self-loathe, like there's a self-loathing thing because they weren't accepted in society. And when they were raising them, like they were just taught to hate women, and then they're also taught to hate themselves. So as they're doing this, so they're calling us liars, but guess what? That means that he would be okay with that conduct on other men. Do you guys get it? So I've been pulling that out. And then, of course, because, people don't use their brain to understand what I'm, like, throwing out here to understand the scope of this issue. It is a PD. It is definitely related to that. It is not a naturally occurring thing that happens. It is something that is created in the environment that they were raised in. So I was like, yeah, so going into a school and saying, hey, don't rape people is a joke. Because the reason why they rape people is because they know it's a bad thing to do. Like, it has this thing to it. So it's not like, oh, I ignorantly grabbed people and did this. Now, you could call it ignorance in the young years, in the young ages there. And that's where they completely ignored it. So if you go back into the historical thing on this, they used to sit there and tell kids, like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's a normal thing for kids to be exploring on other kids and touching them and doing all these things. They'll get out of it. So they didn't even care that you got molested by your brother, this thing. And so it started kind of coming up. What's her name? There was a feminist that did a book and she was talking about how she was like touching her sister. I don't know. There was something about it. And I actually never read the story and the book or anything. So I don't know exactly how it transpired, but people were trying to downplay it as being a normal behavior and we shouldn't go at it. And I was kind of like, I didn't touch my brother though. I never did anything like that. Not even as a kid, not as a kid. Now he did some weird things, but That I didn't know. So I was like, that's incestuous. And we're seeing more of that. And I was saying that that problem right there is much more common than has initially been believed because it's a perception issue. It isn't even like people don't know what's happening. It's sort of like their perception of somebody getting molested. They're just like, well, it's totally fine. Versus like, I don't know that it's happening. You might be right. I feel like he must have some dirt on her, and these people are pushing for him to be welcomed back or whatever. Either that or they have some skeletons in the closet that they're afraid that can make them the next Spacey. Yeah, so you're reading that properly. Like there's a thing, there's a protection on herself. Like she's trying to beyond being evil, vindictive. Like I believe other people should be harmed. Um, there's a level of I'm guilty of grabbing people's asses. I honestly think that's the thing in it. Because that would be the thing that you go, you know what, there's some, that's minor. Why are you guys getting mad at that? Like, because you did it, right? Because why would you defend it? That's the thing. This is how I analyze this stuff. So I'm trying to teach other people to really, you don't need to hear that they have allegations. Honest God, you don't even need to hear it. You'll know that they did this stuff. So analyze it and go, why would you minimize that conduct ever? Because you know it's supposed to be so horrible that it happened to you, right? So that would be like, no, we can't condone that on anybody. So you're like, why are you minimizing it? Why are you minimizing it? And you know that you're minimizing it, and that that's not that serious, okay? Because I did it. Because I did it. Because I did it. So if she gets mad at it, it makes her a hypocrite, right? I will be a hypocrite if I mean, but what I'm doing is when I'm talking about this stuff is like I'm literally self-reflecting. I have to self-reflect because otherwise I am gonna get caught up in something. Someone's gonna go, oh, you did that. Like, wait. So, and even when I'm throwing out an opinion, because half the time it's like, oh, I actually did that, and that's why I have the opinion that I do, because I actually had to deal with this issue at one point or another. So that's one portion. But another portion is like, I admitted that we were part of this culture of frat housing, which is not a fun thing to admit, okay? Because it's not actually a highlight of my reel. But we were part of doing stuff like that. And the mindset behind it, I was analyzing the mindset behind it. It wasn't sexual. It was actually about humiliating and being an asshole, to each other, but not for the sake, like my purpose isn't sex, right? It isn't sex, right? It's not. So, I was looking at it, and I was like, yeah, man, if they would just, nobody called me out for it. I go, I'm calling myself out for it, but I'm trying to analyze why it occurred, because why it occurred is so important. Not even the fact that I did it, but I wasn't the only one. I was trying to point this out too. It wasn't like I was running around, I was doing all this stuff against everybody's will, and this thing. It's like everybody's kind of playing their part in that conduct. So I was like, well, why did we do this? We're kids, right? We're kids, we're coming up, and no adult had a problem with this. Why didn't the adults have a problem with it? Well, they're promoting it. And that's why the kids did it. So it wasn't and we knew that we are doing something vindictive. So I want to make that clear too. It wasn't like, oh, I thought I was being this innocent, nice person. No. Um, and that's the mindset. So had I not done that, and I don't want to get in trouble for something, and they're like, you know what, that's bad, that's this and that and this and that, I'd be like, you know what, that's not that big a deal. I actually think it's a really big deal. When I'm hindsighting it, I go, no, that's actually a really big deal. That was actually bad. That was really bad of me. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I mean, and I don't want to promote that either. And today I'm kind of like, girls, please don't do that. You're going to regret it. I was like, you're going to regret it. Unfortunately, in our era, doing that was supposed to be the most hilarious thing to do to everybody. I'm like, God, we were a bunch of sociopaths at that time, in this portion here, like acting like that. But that really is the deep down thing to their mentality. It's well up and beyond that mentality, but it is, the basis is around that. So they don't want to get in trouble for it. So they want to minimize that conduct because they did it. It's just straight out of guilt. I mean, I can go in circles about the topic, but they're basically outing that they did that. Mostly when you hear somebody talk about it's fine being with children because somebody did that, because no one's going to justify that unless you okayed that conduct on yourself and you would be totally fine with it on somebody else. So they're telling you, yes, I'm guilty. You're right either way, because what's going to happen is, or what could happen in this case is that if she starts going, yeah, this is really terrible, he's grabbing people, there's going to be these people out in the background going, Sharon totally grabbed my ass at, the Grammys on, whatever. I mean, some bullshit, right? There's going to be people out here doing that. And you know what you've done to people. For the most part, people don't forget that they've done these things because they're going, oh crap, I did this, right? And so they're calculating like how to go at it. And so they're trying to avoid, somebody's going to jump out and be like, you did that. So yeah, it's possible that Kevin and Sharon did a whole like little group gangy thing. Yeah, it's very possible. Like these stories, okay, when you think about these stories as you're hearing them, that they're at parties, they're doing this, they're grabbing people, they're involved in this universe. No, underground, there's all this going on. Okay, so I know what the underground is doing. Okay, so there's multiple communities of different people doing things. Okay, so in addition, there was the Jeffrey Epstein thing, but he's putting himself far away from it, going, I didn't even know that girl. Okay, so now he's doing that. I cannot debate what he knows or what he doesn't know on that, but I find it weird that they're both sitting in a chair together and he's saying, I didn't even know who that person was. Um, and then claiming that they were a danger to the president. However, the president has always had Secret Service with them, so why would the Secret Service be okay with child predators? So here's another issue with that. So I was trying to bring those things up. I go, you guys ignoring that Secret Service is around? And that Secret Service is literally viewing child human trafficking in some which way, shape, or form? Because he was saying, I was questioning why there were children, or not children. He says, I was questioning why there was these girls that looked really young around this guy. And I go, well, Secret Service is there. I mean, if there was a danger to the president, I mean, shouldn't they be taking care of it, right? Why didn't they take the perpetrator down? There's, these things, right? Because they're down with it. They're all down with it. So it's telling you more about the universe of these men that I already know about. I mean, I already know that they're involved in a lot of shenanigans, not necessarily a child human trafficking ring, but as far as like conduct like that, yeah. And mostly because of the way they respond to me. So the response to me is not, oh, we're against it. It's like, oh no, we're going to start targeting you. So here, tell us what you know, and then we're going to go after you. And it's like, what the fuck? Yeah. And how dare me try to go after some white guy? I mean, honest to God, it was this type of mentality where they're like, how dare you? What is it that you're trying to do? What is it that you want? Like, like doing this thing to me? I'm not even moved by this shit. Because, I mean, it's just the truth of the story. It's like, this is what happened. And they're going on like this. They're treating me like gutter. And they give me a gutter map. So on any level that you think that government is against this, you're mistaken. You're highly mistaken. I'm going to have to end here because holy crap. I could literally go on. But I think I read most of those comments and you guys are on the right page. Yeah, you should be questioning Sharon's conduct. And honest to God, yeah, a lot of these women have been really bad. That's why I say stop asking these women questions. Because they're going to lie for men. They're going to keep saying they're the most wonderful things in the universe and literally target a woman. Okay? And in this case, she's targeting the victims of this man here who are male. So In these stories, it seems to really not necessarily matter the gender of the victims, but the fact that if you even go after anybody perpetrating on anyone generally, you're going to get protected by the general population of male supremacy. Um, you're going to get targeted by people that have a personality disorder. So because somebody got abused, that is actually part of the mix of them turning into these monsters. And I keep saying, I go, this is a major problem that we should want to fix, because I don't give a shit that she went to a fucking therapist for 7 years. She's still a piece of crap doing this. And I don't care that it's a woman. I mean, it doesn't matter, but women are doing this. Yes. I'm not saying they're saying it's okay for a man to touch another man like that. And men keep getting honest for it. I go, see, it wasn't me doing it. It's men saying it. And then here you're seeing a woman promote it. She's saying the same thing. Like, it's not, you know where she got it? She got it from men minimizing getting raped, raping other women. We need to really clarify that this is a misdemeanor. Why do you need it a misdemeanor, honey? How many people did you grope? You know what I mean? Like, we need to look at this as not that serious. I am traumatized by the amount of groping at my job, dude. It was a human trafficking ring, period, because LA County knew about it. So I'm like, I'm getting abused at my job. And they're sitting there promoting it and okaying it, saying, if I really hated it, I wouldn't be there. Okay, so they went into these different things with me. Okay, so she's that person. That's why the history on this topic has been rape all day, rape kids, rape everybody, and let's, pray to Jesus and let it go, and nobody in trouble, and keep praising the white man. And we need to lift him up no matter what he does. Even if he rapes about 10 million little boys, we got to lift him up, dude. We got to lift him up. We got to, this thing. And he's my friend because I know him and I don't know you other people, so I'm going to run you over. That's Sharon. She's hell. She's horrible. She's a monster. What if that was your mom? That might be somebody's mom out here. Question, why are they mad at me? Because of this topic. Question, would you want to be friends with those people ever? No. The big word is no. Are they good people? No. Are they the people that you think they are in the media? No. I've been saying this. I go, it destroyed my whole view of these people. Because I would have rather had, I wouldn't have rather had it been a fantasy, because then I would be stupid and I'd be protecting, I would be helping and enabling people that I think are good people. And for me, I think the best thing was to meet these people, and they're piles of shit. And that's the truth of it. And none of them are really as they say. And in a few cases, there's been some where they were nicer than how I perceived them. But then there was the story where it went back and forth, actually, where it was like, oh, they're the most evil people ever. Then I meet them and they seem like the nicest people ever. But then all of a sudden they did turn into the most evil people ever. Don't make the church, the assembly of God fucking right on any level. No, they weren't the devil. But the conduct makes them evil. It's not that, they're worshiping a devil or they're, any of this crap. It's that they don't give a shit about our gender. They don't give a shit about sexual assault. They don't give a shit about any of it. All they care about is themselves. Like, it really, at the end of the day, it comes down to, I care about my career. I only care about men. They never really lifted up women. Like, when you literally go through this whole thing, it's just like, yeah, why would you have to tell men to do that? Look for like-minded people in your industry. I'm like, well, men are not like-minded. Their whole thing is to try to take me down. And they look at us as some kind of threat, like, because you wouldn't do that. If I wasn't a threat, then you wouldn't even give a shit what I'm doing over here, right? You wouldn't care because, you're just too good for me. So, yeah, so there's that thing going on. I'm more powerful than them, because the only people that try to do that, they feel that you're going to take their space. You got to get them out of here. It's like, you got to remove them. It's like, where did I remove people? I wish I could remove people. The people that I want to remove are people that are perpetrators. I mean, the right people that you would want to remove, not the victims of it. No. But in a lot of these cases, they can fit on both sides of the fence. I'm not going to support anybody saying they're not admitting to that they perpetrated on other people and playing a victim for these other people. It's just not happening. But they want that story. They want it to be like, well, he's a victim, so therefore he didn't do that. I was like, no, that's not what happened. He's a victim, and therefore that's why he did that. I mean, I don't want to really blame that because he's a victim, he did that. It's still a choice, but the mentality behind it is because of the earlier thing. It's still a choice because we all got this happening, right? So it's not like we all went out and then we all turned into a rapist, okay? But in that environment, it was enabled. There's an enabling in there that was not I don't know, dude. It just wasn't in ours. And that's what I've been saying. I go, we need more research. We need a lot more research. I have an idea what happened here. Like when I'm going through mall now and I'm so there's a fork in this road that is important to be able to because you want to catch it as soon as possible, as soon as possible, and you want to rescue that situation so it doesn't become this thing where it's a permanent fixture in their life because it is. Kevin's not fixable. You guys, you have to understand this. Kevin's not fixable. You can pray to Jesus all you want. He's not fixable. But I was saying in the story that the early conduct, whatever happened in the home life there, shouldn't have happened. So that's kind of where you need to go. And it could be true that he wasn't as abused as the other kid. And then it's more of an enabling thing, like, I'm the one that's special. It could be those things. It totally could be. And he's just making up and pulling from the brother's story just so you could feel empathy for him. And that's what you have to watch out for because they will do that. Yeah. And it would seem believable because the parents are a pile of shit. I mean, in their story. But yeah, he could easily pull it out and go, oh, yeah, this whole thing to me, and then it didn't even happen to him. I believe it did happen to him because the reason why I think it did, and that he's not actually, well, in some portions he could be making some stuff up, but it was the wordage that they did point out and saying it's okay or something like that. He said some wording that did, in fact, sound like something that like maybe the father did to him and that was some sort of verbiage that he was saying as he was sexually abusing his son. So you have to pay a lot of attention to that stuff. It's tricky sometimes. You have to be very ultra focused on these people. And nobody's ultra focused on Kevin Spacey, okay? Other than me. So I was like, just because it became this thing that it wasn't expected and it was sort of like, okay. So no, I have a lot of information on that stuff. And Sharon knows it, and all that information and some, and she's justifying it. So keep that in mind. So it's not like she doesn't know all this stuff, she's justifying it.